Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video I'd like to start reading The Coiled Serpent, which is a book that's been requested quite a bit in the comments, and it's a book that I've started reading recently. I'm halfway through it and I'm thinking potentially what I could do is do a video per chapter, because what I've noticed is with this book, each chapter is like a totally different topic, and the chapters are quite nice and short, and each is kind of like an idea on its own. So I think maybe that could be a good way to dissect this book. And what I do is I'll read the chapter since it's quite short, and then at the end, I'll reflect off the cuff and give my own thoughts on that as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. If I think it's effective, I'll continue. If not, maybe I can find another way or give a general summary of the book on the whole once I finish reading it. So yeah, The Coiled Serpent, subtitle is A Philosophy of Conservation and Transmutation of Reproductive Energy by C.J. Van Vliet. So this would be one of like the classics in the sexual transmutation or semen retention or abstinence or chastity or purity, community, whatever you want to call it. So I suppose for those who are kind of new to this area or maybe not as familiar, like there's this practice called semen retention or seed retention and sexual transmutation, which are things that guys can do, and it's very simple really. It's just in modern society, we've been kind of conditioned to believe that like sex is like this universal good, and that, it's good to engage in that. And for guys, it's good to basically release their seed regularly. And what a lot of guys are coming to realize is that that's not actually a good thing necessarily, that it leaves guys feeling drained, it leaves them feeling less confident, less motivated, less social, all of these things. And a lot of guys have discovered and are discovering that by simply refraining from releasing that seed, releasing your energy, you acquire a lot of benefits over time. And it's something that's kind of gradual and it builds up, and you just get greater levels of confidence, greater levels of motivation. You feel like things are kind of in flow more, like things go better for you. Very subjective effects, but it's been reported so universally by so many guys at this point that it's almost hard to deny or to ignore. So a very powerful practice, and it's something that I practice myself, and I've seen and reaped the benefits. I just feel a lot better in myself whenever I do it, and I've done it for such a time now that like if ever I occasionally slip up or go back to releasing, I could just feel the drop in energy, and I feel just the negative effects of that. It's kind of like you just wake up to it over time of how it's not actually a great habit, and it's something that really depletes you more than it gives. So I just think it's something that makes a lot of sense. So this book is one of the classics to read in that area. It's like full of knowledge and wisdom. It goes in depth into like the benefits of sexual transmutation, of abstinence, of taking a kind of more pure stance towards sexuality, and it goes into the spiritual benefits. So it's not just a kind of a surface level read, which is nice. I think it goes very deep, and it talks about really the more tantalizing spiritual aspects of this practice. And another great thing is that it talks a lot about ancient societies and basically just society up until pretty much all human societies up until the last 100 years, because it's only really in the last 100 years that humanity has really fallen into this degenerate state where it's just hyper liberalism, where anything goes. It's kind of that motto of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, which is something Aleister Crowley said, who was kind of a degenerate esoteric philosopher, I suppose. So basically that philosophy is just pure egoism, like do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. It's just pure individualism, and that's kind of where we've gotten to as a society. It's all about, what can we get as individuals, and it basically just comes down to pleasure hedonism and self-service, and that ideology, rooted in sexuality first and foremost, in kind of a very indulgent sexuality, it's antithetical to long-term collective health, long-term collective good as a society, as a community, as a people. It's just very degenerate in the sense that licentiousness, and lustfulness, it erodes at our mental, physical and spiritual health. It erodes at our community bonds. It erodes at trust between men and women. It erodes at the family. It erodes a lot of things. It erodes even at religion and spirituality and faith, because indulging in sexuality and lust, it's kind of like it's one or the other, really, because indulging in pleasure, indulging in lust, it actually numbs your spiritual faculties, and that's what this whole movement is about. It's about kind of reawakening some of those faculties and reawakening to the joy, joy de vivre, or joy of life, through not indulging in those lower pleasures, so that you can actually gain access to the higher joys in life. And that's really a trend as well, as that the lower, kind of more base things in life, they're pleasurable, but the higher things in life that are truly worthwhile and truly worth pursuing, they're more associated with joy as opposed to pleasure. Now, I'm not going to say necessarily that pleasure is always evil. Like, I think pleasure, sometimes it's good, like you enjoy a nice meal, or you maybe you have sex with someone you really love and it's a really committed relationship or something. But I think in modern society we've just taken it to the other extreme, where it's just total indulgence at any cost, any price. And it's kind of like we're living in this hedonistic, individualist society where everybody, as a result, is out for themselves. It's dog eat dog. There's kind of an ongoing dissolution of community, an ongoing dissolution of any form of collectivism. And it's kind of a case of united we stand, divided we fall. So when we are kind of individualized or atomized, we're also more vulnerable to external influence. So there's a lot of stuff there. I won't go on too much, but I'm just laying out the case, or laying the groundwork for the importance of this work, the importance of this practice, and this book in particular, as one of the more seminal works in this whole area. So without further ado, let's go through the prologue and let's go into the first chapter of the book. So yeah, I'm looking at it here. It's front cover. It's got the title as I read out. So, The Coiled Serpent: A Philosophy of Conservation and Transmutation of Reproductive Energy. And it's got a quote here: "The connection of the serpent with sexual matters is found all over the world." And to be honest, this is quite an old book as well. I think it was like early 1900s, like 1910 or 11 or something like that, or 1920. I'm not sure, but so the quotes that are featured are quite obscure, and they're from older European texts and things like that. So I'm not going to actually give the authors unless they're noteworthy. I'm just going to give the body of the quote, because I think that's what's important.